All right. Algebraic reasoning. Welcome back. Let me fix this real quick. All right, algebraic reasoning. Welcome back. Uh, a lot of people have not finished their 2 assignments from last week. So what I wanted to do is kind of go over them, show you an example of how to do them, but also that you would be encouraged that you can do that on your own. You can ask for question helps and hints on how to do this stuff, right? So I want to let's talk about inverses. If I can search for that. All right, cool. So what you had assigned were these things right here. So let's look at the exercises. There's 4 questions. I'm going to click it. Okay. And we're going to do the student view here. Okay. There we go. All right. So it says, now here's an example. It says the graph of the invertible function g is shown on the grid below. Now they say invertible because it can be inverted. And they want to know what's the value of g inverse of 7. That's how you say it, g inverse of 7. Now, right now, if you tried this and you're like, hey, I put it at 7, doesn't make any sense, what's the deal? Okay, you really want to click right here where it says watch a video or use a hint. So when I click that, okay, now you can watch the videos all over again but if you didn't understand it the first time, why don't you click over here where it says get a hint, okay? This is very important. If you don't understand, okay, you want to click get some help, and then on still stuck on the right hand side, get a hint, okay? Now, it says let's denote a to be the value of g inverse of 7. By the definition of inverse functions, what that implies, g of a equals 7, okay? Now, if you didn't understand that, you can ask why, okay? But I'm going to put that away. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, if that's a lot of jargon, okay, get another hint. Now I'm going to tell you g of a equals 7. That's when the y value is 7. So let me make a little note here. Oh, let's go red though. G, okay. Do you want right? There you go. G of a. I don't know why it's not writing. It's making me mad. All right. G of a equals 7. That means your y value equals 7. Okay. And then that means once you find your y value of 7, that's you're gonna figure out what is x equal. Okay, it's supposed to be a question mark there. Okay, let's get another hint. Looking at the graph, we see that the function has a value of 7 when x equals 5. In other words, we see that g of 5 equals 7. Since g of a equals 7 and g of 5 equals 7, that means a equals 5. And then our other hint. Okay, so basically they're saying the answer is 5. Now, if that didn't make perfect sense, let me show you up here. Okay. Whenever you have inverse, okay, right there, that's your y value, okay? So when the y value is 7, okay, the y value is 7. So hopefully you know this, but your vertical axis right here, that's y. So I'm going to find 7, right here. I'm going to go over to the function, okay? Now, when the y value is 7, go straight down. What's my x value? 5, okay? So when y is 7, my x value is 5, and that's my answer, okay? So when you're doing these problems and you're given a graph and they say g inverse of a number, you find that number on the y-axis, go over to the graph, go straight up or down to the x-axis, and that is your inverse function, okay? Now, your problem is probably not exactly this one, so make sure you are careful about that. Okay. Now the table shows some inputs and outputs of the invertible function f with domain of all real numbers, okay? Find the following values, okay? Now, you can watch them. If you're stuck, you can watch a stop writing. Watch a video or use a hint. And if you're, instead of watching the videos, let's just get a hint, okay? All right, this says since the inverse receives inputs from F's range and maps them to the corresponding elements in F, the function's domain, we can reverse the row in the table, okay? So let's write some stuff here. For, oh my gosh, for inverses flip the table, okay? Can we make an A there? Oh my goodness gracious. It's supposed to be an A, and that's supposed to be a T. Okay, for inverses, you want to flip the table. Now, I want you to notice that's what they did from here to here, okay? They took the X and the Y's, and they flipped them over, okay? That's how you know what an inverse is. Inverses is just inverting things, flipping things over. X becomes Y, Y becomes X, okay? Now, on this, let's see if we can make this a little bigger. On this first one, I need to first find this little thing right here, F inverse of 7, okay? So that means when the Y value is 7, what's the X, right? So right here, here's the Y value. When it's 7, what's my X value? 14, right? Now, that's not the final answer. That's just inside this parentheses. So right here, I'm going to replace this with 14. So I'm going to rewrite it, okay? Now notice the right here it says F inverse. So I'm going to rewrite that F inverse. But on the inside there, we just figured this out. When the Y is 7, the X was 14. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to find the inverse of 14. So again, when the Y value is 14, what's X? So right here, let's look for 14. Hey, what's the X value right there? 10. Okay. Now, sometimes, and I've seen these, you'll have just a regular F without the inverse. Okay. So if you see a function, that means in the parentheses is the X, you're going to find the Y. Okay. But if you have an F inverse, you're going to look at the Y and then tell me the X. Okay. That's basically it. Okay. So let's think about that on this next one. F inverse of -4. Again, we know inverse means Y. So I'm going to find -4 on the y-axis, on the y table, tell me the x. So -4 is right here. What's the x value there? -10. Okay, so sometimes there's more than one step here, sometimes there's only one step. Okay, so again, if you see two f's, you'll have two steps. Cool. Now I know some of these are going to be a little different, so but yeah. All right, so the graph of this, all right, cool. So the original graph is this dashed one right here, okay? And what we're trying to find is this new one right here. So again, you can watch a video, use a hint, but remember, for inverse, okay, for inverse, we're going to try to, in all inverses, flip x and y. So let's find these points. This point right here, the x value is 9, the y value is 1. So that point right there is 9, 1. Okay? It's an ugly 9, sorry. Okay, and then this point right here, the x value is 1, the y value is -5, 1, -5. All right, now let's find the inverse of those points. Let me tell you, all you have to do is flip the x and the y. So instead of 9, 1, now we're going to have 1, 9. Okay, and then right here, instead of 1, -5, let's flip it, -5, 1. Cool. So now I know my new points, my inverse points. So all I have to do is, like it says, drag the endpoints of this lighter green one. See how like it gets bigger? That means I can drag them. So I'm going to drag one of them to 1, 9. So this one right here, starting at 0, 0, 1 horizontally, 9 vertically. X before Y, right? And then the next point, negative 5, 1, I'm going to drag the other endpoint, starting at 0, 0. Negative 5 horizontally means go left 5. 1 means up 1. Cool. And imagine a diagonal line right here, okay? It's called y equals x. If you saw a diagonal line right here, these should be symmetrical, reflecting across that diagonal line. And they are. So that's how you do that one. And then next, graph the invertible function shown on the grid below. Okay. So again, what's the value of f inverse of 0? So let's write this again. That's when, if I could, can I write on this? Okay, I can't write it down there. What is it? So remember, f inverse of 0. So remember, f inverse, that's when the y value is 0, the x value is what? Okay. Inverse means check the y, tell me the x. So the y value is 0. So on this on this vertical line, 0 is right here. Okay. Am I allowed to write on it? Okay. So I'm going to go horizontally to the line, the function. So I'm going to have to go to the right until I get to that function, which is right here. What is that x value right there? And the y value is 0. The x value is 6. Okay. So again, that's inverses. Check the y, give me the x. All right. All right. So if you get to the end of that after getting all your answers right, and it says that some of them were wrong, it does mark those questions wrong when you use hints. So again, you can use the hints to kind of help you understand it, but then you'll need to go back and redo the assignment altogether, which I know is kind of a bummer, but it helps you understand it asynchronously on your own when I'm not there or Ms. Pereiro's not there to help you out. Okay. So again, you can use those hints. Just remember that might mark them wrong, but once you've learned it, retake it and show what you've learned on your own without the hints, and you'll get that good grade. All right. Let's see what's next. The next one, finding inverse of linear functions. Okay, right here. So let's check out that student view. All right, it says g inverse of x. Now we're going to use the hint. Again, if we're stuck, we don't know what to do. And then again, get the hint over on the right side. So now, first thing we do is you take this original function, take that f of x or g of x or whatever of x, and you just turn it into a y. Okay. First step, we want it to look like a y, so we have one letter variable there. Second step, inverse, and like I've been saying the whole time, inverse is just when you switch the order, right? Wherever y and x are, you switch the places. So see how it says y equals? Now it says x equals. Negative 2/3 x, now it's negative 2/3 y. You just take the x and the y and you switch the order, and then what you're going to do is solve it from there, okay? Solve it for y. So now we have x equals this. To get rid of this loner minus 5, you add 5 to both sides, and you get x plus 5. And then to get rid of negative 2/3, you multiply by its reciprocal, the flip, which is negative 3/2. And then you want to distribute that. Negative 3/2 times x, negative 3/2 times 5. And that'll give you, well, they're leaving it in this form right here, okay? All right, and that's how you can solve it. Cool. Now, what I'm going to do is, yeah, I guess I'll just type that in. So now I'm telling you, if you do what I'm doing right here, it's not going to mark it right. You can't just copy and paste answers. Okay. Whoa. All right, let's try this again. All right, I retyped that out. And again, it's not green because we had to use a hint, right? what's the inverse of this function? Now, I'm going to write this one out. So again, I'm going to turn this into a y right here, and I'm going to switch the x and the y. So now it's going to be x equals 3y minus 2. When I solve this, I want to solve for y, so I need to get rid of this loner, minus 2. What's the opposite of minus 2? Plus 2 to cancel it out. And if I do it on the right side of the equal sign, I got to do it on the left side of the equal sign. Now x plus 2 is not 3, it's not 3x, it's not 2x. X plus 2 is literally x plus 2. Okay, they're not like terms, so we just write them next to each other. All right. And to get rid of this 3, we divide by 3, and the whole thing gets divided by 3. Now here's the deal. When x, which is a 1x, is divided by 3, that's going to give us 1/3 x. And then when 2 is divided by 3, that's going to be 2/3. Okay. Now see how it's green because I didn't use a hint? So when I finish this and I get like a 50 or a 75 or something, I need to redo this one without any hints to get a full grade, right? Okay. Again, what's the inverse? Again, we're going to call this y, and we're going to switch y with x. So let's do that. X equals 3/2 y minus 11. Okay. And then I need to solve for this y. Now, before I can get to this is not, I know this looks like the loner, but when you have parentheses, I got to get rid of this fraction first. To get rid of this fraction, I multiply by its flip. Okay, so times, I wish this would write, times, and then the flip of 3/2 is 2/3. Okay, the reciprocal. Now it's going to cancel that out. And if I multiply 2/3 on the right side, I'm going to multiply 2/3 on the left side. So now I have 2/3 x equals y minus 11. And now my last step to get rid of that minus 11 is to add 11 on both sides. Please remember, 2/3 x and 11 are not like terms. They don't combine. So my y equals is going to be the 2/3 x and the plus 11 after it. Okay, you can use a fraction. See, and it said try again because I accidentally hit the enter button, which I did not mean to. So if you accidentally hit enter when you're trying to hit shift, that's unfortunate. It might give you the gray dot. That's unfortunate. And it's the same thing here. Again, turn this into a y, flip x and y. So now I have x equals -2/5 y plus 3. And then you solve for y. Same thing, all right? So that is your hints for those two assignments. You really need to make sure you do those assignments, all right? I'm going to let you work on those, and here we go. Have a good day.